All right. Well, hopefully that video woke you up if you aren't already. Um, I'm just going to be going over a bit about Copilot, the different varieties that Microsoft has introduced. That video is, pretty interesting, but it's really not what we're here to talk about. We're here to discuss Microsoft 365 Copilot, and that video was more talking about Copilot in general. Microsoft Copilot, excluding the 365 integration, is Microsoft's implementation of ChatGPT, the OpenAI tool that was launched in November of 22. And it's really changed how we adapt and create, to information and working in our day-to-day. So hopefully by now, you've all had a chance to try out ChatGPT, get it to write you a sonnet or, respond to an email in iambic pentameter. But what we're here to talk about is Microsoft 365 Copilot and how it's set apart from ChatGPT. It's built upon the same incredible technology, but with much more different capabilities, features, and benefits to your organization. So that video is great, but it's really just the beginning of the impact that Copilot can have on your future. So, like I mentioned, Microsoft Copilot is the Microsoft implementation of ChatGPT. It's built upon a large language model, which is a statistical representation of the information provided to it and how it communicates back to us. As some of you may be aware, Microsoft owns 49% of OpenAI, the creator of ChatGPT. So Microsoft is building upon Microsoft Copilot whenever improvements are brought to ChatGPT. If you're using Bing right now, you may have noticed that Copilot is right in your search results, often identifying the relevant answers before you even notice them. If you were to tell me a year ago that Bing would be a great search option, I probably would have laughed at you. I've been a long time, Bing opponent. I went as far as to disable it in all Windows search functionality because it just wasn't there. But things have really changed, and that's a result of Copilot changing the game. So just to talk a bit more about Copilot, Copilot also has what's called web grounding. So by grounding, we mean what's the source of truth? What is it basing its information on? If you've tried out ChatGPT earlier, it had a knowledge cutoff of 2021. So if you asked it anything prior to that date, it wouldn't be able to tell you anything. Microsoft Copilot is plugged into the internet to provide you better responses. So why Copilot? Copilot is the best parts of ChatGPT, including the image generation from DALL-E 3, and it also is transparent about its sources. You don't have to trust it blindly. Organizations have to find and distill correct information more often than we have to generate things. And we need to know that the information is sound. There isn't a knowledge cutoff, like I mentioned. So you can go ahead and ask it about a recent celebrity death or an event happening in your city, and it will be able to give you answers based on web results. And lastly, and really the most important feature of Copilot over ChatGPT is the commercial data protection. So not only does Copilot not save your chats or prompts for anyone else to review, the information and answers that are processed by Copilot aren't used to train the hive mind, as it were. For most publicly available GenAI tools like ChatGPT, any information or questions that you're asking it are going in to further refine the model and how it learns and how it's providing answers to others. So if you're having conversations involving, intellectual property or PII, that information is going to stay protected in Copilot and not potentially be leaked elsewhere to another public user of the platform. So I urge you to consider developing, a policy to mandate Copilot in your organization over those other models in light of this feature, and we can really help you with that. We'll touch more on that later. So how can you get at Copilot? So there's 4 different areas that you can just access Copilot right now. Copilot.microsoft.com. as I mentioned earlier, you can see it right in Bing, or it's integrated fully with Microsoft Edge. Depending on what build of Windows 11 you're on, you may have noticed a little Copilot icon pop up in your taskbar. It's available there as well. And then lastly, you can access Copilot on a mobile app on either the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. So for those of you who haven't tried out Copilot, I invite you to scan this QR code. It'll take you to download the Copilot app on your relevant app store, and you can test it out for yourselves. Here's just a quick, example of the different questions you can ask Copilot to test out some of the functionality. If you wanted to create an image and then refine the edits that you can do on that image, it'll pop up with the same DALL-E responses that you may have seen if you've used that implementation of ChatGPT before. But one point I really want to hammer home is that commercial data protection. So in order for that to be in effect, you need to sign into Copilot with your work account. So once you access Copilot, if you're already signed in to your organization's 365 tenant, Copilot will automatically sign you in with your work account here. So if you navigate to copilot.microsoft.com and you're signed into your browser, ensure that you are seeing that little green tag at the top right. So that green badge with the shield means that commercial data protection is enabled. If you aren't signed in with that, then your data is not protected using the AI chat within the context of your organization. And we'll touch on that a bit more later. So here's just a brief layout of what Copilot looks like. There's a couple different conversation styles that you can select for Copilot's responses. Balanced provides quicker, faster answers that may not be more detailed. Precise takes a bit longer to generate the responses, but tends to be more detailed and refined with its answers. So depending on what you're looking for, you might want to swap between those two conversations modes. You can enter in new chats at the bottom, and the blue bubble to the left allows you to start a new, fresh conversation with Copilot so that your previous questions to it won't be taken into account with your additional questions. Like I mentioned on the last slide, the protected badge is up at the top right, and then there's some suggested prompts to get you started. So now let's talk about the primary tool we're here to discuss, and that's Microsoft 365 Copilot. Some of you may have seen this product previously called Microsoft Copilot for 365. Microsoft, in their great wisdom, decided to rename it to something that was a bit less of a tongue twister, but we'll see if they change it yet again. So Microsoft 365 Copilot is something that expands upon the capabilities of Copilot and integrates with your organization's 365 tenant to access data, as well as being available within all of your 365 Office apps. So it has the same web grounding and access to relevant information, but it also now has enterprise data protection because it's protected within the context of your 365 tenant. And then there's additional functionality with the 365 implementation of Copilot, which is Copilot Studio, which we'll discuss a bit more later this morning, but those are kind of the core features. So like I mentioned, Microsoft 365 Copilot can directly integrate with your Office applications, so such as Word, Outlook, Teams, and Excel. And it is able to provide answers within the context of those documents or applications, as well as from data in SharePoint. So for how it gets access to that information, it uses something called Microsoft Graph. So this is kind of the big integration that allows Copilot to see and access all the relevant information for your Microsoft tenant and your organization. Some of you may be familiar with Microsoft Graph. It's essentially the backbone of all queries into 365 organizations. It's built on top of Entra ID and ties into every Microsoft product within your 365 service boundary. So it's linked into everywhere, and access is provided to Copilot through this. So I'm just going to talk a bit more about what the architecture looks like. So there's a lot of info on this slide. It's a bit busy, but the important thing to note is that Microsoft 365's service boundary. So any of your questions, the responses, and any processing that Copilot's doing when it's helping you out within your tenant, it's staying within your tenant. So if you're discussing those, intellectual property items or PII or sensitive company data, it's staying within your tenant and is not leaving the boundary to continue to train, that hive mind like other models. So I'm just gonna swap to a quick video here just to talk about those specific capabilities that Microsoft 365 Copilot has.
Whoa. Straight to the top, never going down, don't wait for the drop. Stand still, that's the motto, yeah. Brand new bands for the auto, oh. Foot to the ground, full throttle. Big energy for the night like lotto. Y'all talk lots, never this quiet. Life like a Seinfeld plot. Vault full of songs, all of them bombs. Something like a minefield guy, boom. Get it, tickets running out quick. Bet it, never get it out big. Said it, never had to shout it. They said I couldn't ever do it, okay, how's it? Fit a week worth of work in a minute. Machine well oiled, you know how I stay efficient. To-do list written, I do this different. Hold up, wait a minute, I ain't finished. Okay. Flows the same now. Paved the way, the snakes and fakes are chased out. Back to back to back, I changed the pace now. Had to stack the cash until the bank's out. Straight to the top, never going down, don't wait for the drop.
All right. So hope that gave you a taste of what Microsoft 365 Copilot can do. One of the things that you'll notice if you have a license for the product is you'll see a switch up the top right within your tenant. When you're working with Copilot, you can select either work to access, data within your organization, and web if you want to reference external sources. If you want both, if you select the work option, there's actually a little plugins menu just within the chat box. There's a little set of 4 shapes. You click on that, and then you can enable the plugin for web content to provide, both answers based on your organization's data as well as current and up-to-date web responses. So let's highlight it there. All right. So these are kind of the top 10 things that are recommended to get your feet wet with Microsoft 365 Copilot. So one of the most useful ones that I've leveraged is recapping meetings. Oftentimes, meetings can get off track and you forget, who was assigned to do what were the action items that you need to take away from a meeting. If you have transcription enabled in your Microsoft Teams meetings, you can ask Copilot at the end of the meeting. It'll even prompt you before the meeting is scheduled to end. Would you like a summary to take away the points from this meeting? Additionally, it can really help you with drafting your emails if you're not sure of how to get the right tone across or how to phrase something. It's really helpful for getting over that writer's block. We're going to go a bit more into all of these examples and how to craft prompts to best get the info from these different features later on this morning. But these are kind of the top 10 to keep in mind, and we'll be sending out some material that includes all of these for you to try for yourself. So now that we've kind of talked about the architecture and broadly the services, there's a few different varieties for an individual to be licensed for Copilot. So if you are an organization that's on the 365 ecosystem, Copilot's actually included. It's part of virtually all of the standard Microsoft licenses for access to 365 apps and email. And you can access it right within your tenant if you go into portal.office.com and just click the Copilot icon. So you can get access to that right away. And then for individuals, they've kind of, again, muddled the naming a bit. If you are a individual that, or a sole proprietor or a student, they have a commercial version of the product as well. It's called Copilot Pro. So Copilot Pro is not actually for professionals and organizations, it's for commercial end users. That's kind of advanced. So with Copilot Pro, you have protection within your Microsoft ID, but you don't have access to the same enterprise level features. You have access to the application, though, within your Office apps if you wanted to test it out outside of the corporate context. So Copilot for 365 is available for about $40 per user a month. And that's not an insubstantial amount of money to be paying per user. So I'd like to talk a bit about what the ROI is on that. How much value can you get out of that $40 per month? So if we take a look at this graph here and anchor on maybe the 1.5 hours saved, that's a 68% ROI. Based on the $30 a month license in USD and a $70,000 a year salary. So if it saves 1.5 hours of the end user's time per month, it pays for itself and provides that free time for the end user to focus on other things and improve their overall efficiency. So next, I'd like to talk a bit about some further varieties that Microsoft has introduced for Copilot. So Microsoft is creating a few different offerings of Copilot to integrate with specific business functions. So we talked about Copilot for individuals. These are more for service groupings. So this will make a bit more sense once I switch to the next slide here. One of the offerings is Microsoft Copilot for sales. So Microsoft Copilot for Sales has all the same advantages of Copilot for 365, but it directly integrates with Salesforce and Dynamics 365 to provide relevant info based on those platforms. So you can enable your sales team to just ask Copilot questions about different opportunities or prior deals that you're looking into, provide some reporting or guidance on where to look for details on revenue and the sales funnel. Another opportunity or offering is Microsoft Copilot for Service, which currently integrates with Salesforce, Zendesk and ServiceNow rather, and it allows end users, ideally service technicians, to query Copilot for information on past service tickets, common solutions to problems that they're facing based on a description, and really enable them to get some of those answers quickly without having to do that time investigating ticket history, looking for things that seem similar to investigate. So it really empowers them to have more of that info readily available and provide those suggestions quickly for faster issue resolution. Another offering is Microsoft Copilot for Finance. And this was announced earlier this year. It's now currently in preview. It connects to Dynamics 365 and SAP. Who knows, maybe later there'll be the potential for NetSuite or QuickBooks. Imagine your controllers being able to talk to the AI assistant and identify what the gross margin is for a specific region, compare Q3 to Q1 of the previous year, and build national charts on how things are progressing throughout the financial year. So it brings that intelligence to these financial tools and helps kind of bring it all together and give you an assistant to help you work through and present that information. How powerful will that be in the right in the hands of the right people? I think it'd be pretty important. So I'd like to leave off just this section with the question, like, are you engaged? Are you interested in the capabilities that Copilot is offering adopters? And are you, excited or trepidatious about, whether it's a threat or not and how to safely leverage it? So we want to ensure that you have the right tools, training, and experience to become proficient in Copilot, as well as how to drive adoption and the right adoption in the right manner in your organization. So I'm going to leave off here with a video, and then I'm going to pass it on to Brandon Peters, who is one of F12's VCIOs.